Hello. Good afternoon. Well, on a day when Minneapolis is reminding us who is really in charge, we are so delighted to invite you inside, both literally and cosmologically. I'm Liu Yang, Chair of Asian Art and Curator of Chinese Art. And it's my pleasure to welcome you to this special dual lecture celebrating Threads of the Way, Daoist Priest Robes from China's Qing Dynasty, now on view at MIA. The gallery is difficult to find, but it's located in Target Wing, so you should be able to find it. We are joined by two scholars and curators, Dr. Pengliang Lu, the Brooke Russell Astor Curator of Chinese Art at the Metropolitan Museum of Art, and myself. Together, we will guide you through robes designed not just to keep priests warm, but to align the human body with the order of the universe, something we could all use on a day like this. Dr. Pengliang Lu will begin with crafting the Daoist Priest Robe from a form and a technique, exploring how these remarkable garments were made, followed by my presentation mapping the cosmos, imagery and meaning on Daoist priest robes, which reveal how this imagery transforms clothing into a cosmic blueprint. Thank you for braving the cold to join us today. At least the universe is on our side. Dr. Pengliang Lu, Brooke Russell Astor Curator of Chinese Art at the Metropolitan Museum of Art, joined the museum in 2013 as Henry A. Kissinger Curatorial Fellow. He has curated various exhibitions on Chinese decorative arts, including Children to Immortals, figural representation in Chinese art, embracing color, enamel in Chinese decorative arts, 1100 to 1900, from 2002 to 2008. He worked at the Shanghai Museum. Dr. Lu has published widely on metalworks, ceramics, textiles, and literary objects. He earned his PhD at the Bard Graduate Center on Chinese bronze and the antiquarism of the 13th and 14th century. I should also mention a very successful show that he recently curated, the Recasting the Past, the Art of Chinese Bronze, 1100 to 1900. After successful showing at the Met, now it's on view at the Shanghai Museum in China. So let's welcome Dr. Lu.
Thank you so much. And thank you, Yang, for your warm introduction. I'm very excited to be here at Minneapolis at such a wonderful weather to me, like the heavy snow, always lovely. And so today I talk about something very different to what I usually talk about, the like Chinese bronzes, like things. So let's go to my slides. Actually, this slide is Dr. Liu's. So let's go to my slides. Okay, so today my talk, as Dr. Liu mentioned, is about the Daoist robe. As we usually see, like we call Daoist Priest Robe. And also, I really want to mention, I just saw the exhibition currently on display here at the Minneapolis Institute of Art, is focusing on Daoist Priest Robe. This is, to me, is very exciting because this is a sort of like a part very little has been attended in the Chinese textile. People in terms of Chinese costumes always think about dragon robes. But how about the Daoist robes? Are they something just a normally Daoist robe and for the daily use, or what they are used for? And just to see from the title, Daoist Priest Robe. Okay, this is priest robe. It's nothing exciting, but actually I found lots of exciting inside. So, and we are very lucky because both Minneapolis Institute of Art and the Metropolitan Museum of Art, we are the two collections, probably is the largest collection of this type of Daoist robe all over the world, probably outside China. But in China, there's still some Daoist monastery, like the Baiyunguan in Beijing. They hold like a lot of big sorts of robe. But in the art museum outside China, Mia and Matt probably have the best, but Mia had the most, more than Matt have. This is what Matt have. I put on a small, so you can see the accession number. We know the date when they acquired. So from 1930 all the way to 1984. So we know there's 16 Daoist robes. It's now in the collection of the Metropolitan Museum. But unfortunately, currently, we haven't put them on display very often. So that's why I'm very excited to see the Dr. Liu put on we have 10 robes here on display in the MIA. So first, if you're not familiar with, maybe not that familiar with so-called Taoism, or this is native Chinese religions. Basically, Tao literally means the way. So it's the way bring you to the order of harmony. It's to get the nature of universe. So to achieve the internal and external balance. So this is what we are. So a lot of in the later time, because the Tao we can trace back all the way to like the 4th, 5th century BCE, but officially they become a religion or more like a managed is since like the 1st century CE. But later, lots of combination with the Buddhism we talk a lot about the Daoist sculpture, some Daoist paintings, but how about Daoist robes, Daoist textiles? This is something we need to get more attention, I think. And also, actually, there's a lot of like misunderstanding, including its term. It's sometimes it's about how they were used. It's because through the time, like in the last several hundred years, lots of change in China, and lots of some term also changed, some title, and so that's what we need to go in for that. This is, I start to looking into those robes. I found they're very interesting. So let's first think about these two. As we saw here, they're basically two types. One type on the left is more like a poncho. It's like a raincoat. And it's like a sleeveless and like a square, very plain, simple cut robe. And like a vest, like a vestment. And the one on the right is more like a traditional Chinese robe, but this is front opening. So both are front opening, not like usually the traditional Chinese baby robe, they are like, they open on the close on the right side. So this is two type. So in terms of this time of form, we usually call them in English text, we call this time called jiangyi, and the one on the right called daopao. So the jiangyi basically literally, I see two Chinese character, literally means crimson or red robe. There's another translate as a robe of descent. This sounds more mysterious, like something descending. But actually, I will argue this is not correct. And the one on the right, we saw they usually call daopao, or just a Daoist robe. This is, of course, they are Daoist robe, and they have like specific meaning on that. So this I'm going to explore. First, we have to think about what is Daoist priest robe. This is the one from a 16th century encyclopedia Chinese book. It's an illustrated book about all different type of objects, animals, plants, called Sancai Tu Hui, published in 1609, like later early 17th century. So we have this illustration. This very straightforward. Tell us what is the Daoist robe, a Daoyi or Daopao. So this is, we see they are different. They are basically just like a traditional Chinese robe on the clothes on the right side. And they mentioned, in the text, they do mention. So this kind of robe is just like, usually it's like with the like the straight collar, and they 常服 Qing. So the 道士常服 Qing, that means their daily robe, they usually is blue. But their 法服, the ritual robe, and the 朝服, official robe. So they use red. And in some cases, those some officials, they use a green robe decorated with gold. So this makes us think, really, the daily robe is like that. So what we see in the collection, in the Western collections, those Daoist robes, they're not daily Daoist priest robe. So the Daoist priest, this is like a 19th century painting, and it's a portrait. So we know what's exactly the Zhang Chengwu. It's a famous, it's sort of like related to Empress Dowager. It's very, very prominent figure. But we still can see in the casual way, the wearing this daily robe is like very much like those in the 17th century illustrated book. So they are, like I said, they are blue. So this is blue robe. This is what the Daoist robe. But I think probably they are too plain. That's why the collector maybe didn't want to collect them. They are not that exciting. And that's why what we see should be the more official, or the ritual robe, we call. The one on the left is another painting now in the Royal Ontario Museum, Canada, Toronto. So we see this type of very fancier and more formal, prominent red embroidery, golden dragon, those robe. This is something very much similar to what we see now in the museum collections. Something like that. So that's you can see this more decorative and lots of ornamented patterns. This make it very like extraordinary. This is like a dragon robe. It is a dragon robe, but this is for Daoist priest use. And also, this is not a normal daily Daoist priest robe. This is a ritual robe. How are they doing the ritual? So we know in the Daoist practice, those rituals, they always need to pray for the gods and to pray for like a rain and for the harvest, and sometimes for memorial service. This actually is from a very interesting, it's very controversial, not controversial, but very satirical novel, Jingping Mei. If you're familiar with the Chinese novel, this is the famous erotic novel written in the later 16th century. But the novel had illustrations. So this is one of the illustrations, it's a later illustration. It's a early 18th century painting, colored painted one. It's about one chapter, chapter 66, I think. This is about that Daoist priest, Huang, is doing a memorial service for a mistress of the master. So here we do see all the details of those robes, and he dressed a robe like that, those fancy robe, and all the other also more formal looking robe is like that. This is, they are praying, and they're just different type of like a dancing looking. They will dance like a step onto different in the constellation shape, and they have special treatment, special practice or rituals. So this is something we usually will see. Mia also has some very similar. This we call 天仙动意要合唱. So this is even if you can see clear. So if you're looking this part, actually is a gold thread. The woven, it's like those pavilion. There's a pavilion in the center. And also with a crane. Crane is a very typical Daoist animal. It's the creature, and often like related to longevity, always show in the pattern. So very lucky we have the text from the novel. Then we know what this called. So we say this one is 大红金云白百鹤法场. So that's literally mean a crimson ritual robe with white hungry cranes amid gold clouds. So we know clearly this is called 法场 or 长衣. 长 we know is like open. It's like an open robe. This is exactly like this type of robe. So this is kind of the 长衣. So this let us know, okay, this is something we understand. And we have another illustrations from the same book, but this one is later, like early 18th century color painted one. But the one on the left is the early 17th century woodblock cut illustration, the original novel illustration. We even can see there's a attendant, or like it's also dressed someone as with sleeve. This reminds us what we see, these two type of robes. So actually both of them was used in the ritual robes. So they are basically are 长衣 or the 法衣, 法服. So this is more means the ritual robe. So those are very common. Sometimes they call, there's some scholars mentioned, like I quote, like when a grandmaster wears a robe of, always called the robe of descent, but I argue, his cantor dressed in the sleeved gown. When the master dons with the sleeved gown, his assistant will wear a plain black or orange robe. So it seems there's a different level, different rank of the robe, but actually probably not exactly like that. So we have another visual material to prove. This is a 17th century painting, a copy of a 14th century original about a Yuan dynasty imperial Daoist priest. So Wu Quanjie. So this is the 14 portraits of his life. So we can see this Daoist master is actually in the different occasions. Sometimes it's following the emperor's order and go to pray for rain, and he dressed like this, those formal robe. Sometimes there's a sleeve one. Sometimes there's no sleeve. It's not no sleeve. It's like a sleeveless, open the 长衣. And during the more like a casual way, they will dress like those white robe. So this is something you can see. Actually, this is for in the different occasions. 13, 18. This is all you can see different type. And also, we can see something different. If you're looking at the currently those later Daoist priest robe, you will notice there's a little tiny different about the details. Here you see, actually, I don't know if you can see clear, there's a red liner inside, right? And this is opening here. So they're not stitched together. But if you go to the gallery, you see those robes, you will notice they all stitch close together. The only like a wing small opening, the hands will come out. So that shows something changed. And also, yeah, this is a sample I showed. This is the one in the mat. You can see always leave opening, only leave opening here. The hands can come out, but all stitched together. But this is interesting, related to some stylistic change about Daoist priest ritual robes. We have another text. It's another 17th century text. This is written by a eunuch, is working the quarter, but he is sort of like in prison and also written lots of his own what he own sees. So it's a very reliable historical materials. We can see he talk about, oops, let me go back. So he talked about the so-called 长衣, as we mentioned, the 法场, those opening robe, is similar to Daoist robe, like a Daopao, but those are made in recent years have sleeves. That means I think, but the older ones doesn't have stitched to sleeves. So the older one, they say 原不缝绣. So that's probably the why. What we see, what we've often saw currently, we saw is the later ones from the Ming Dynasty, 16th, 17th century onward. We will see those like a stitched together robe. So this is another history. So there are lots of texts really helpful to us when we're looking in detail to understand what's the change about the Daoist priest robe. And you see those, they are not historian, but those people very closely pay attention on those robes. So they don't bother to written down all the details about those, how to stitch to make the sleeves. That means Oku can show the significance of this robe. They are formal ritual robes, sometimes a gift from emperors. So that's why that's the extraordinary work craftsmanship. So this is the one we saw. So on our piece, they even have inscription. They say 此法. So simplified, only say 此法. The 法 only means the law or the ritual. So they omit the 衣, so the 服, the clothes or the robe. But they mention that this is the 火神庙古物. It's an antique from the five deities temples, and then later it bought it in this is in Guangxu, but this piece is early one. It's an 18th century one. So, but the interesting is this Hongfa, he also mentioned, this is what we should understand, that they are called as Fa Yi or Fa Fu or Fa Chang. So this is the original title for them. Then came to the title now is we think about the Fa Fu, Fa Yi. So we think about Jiang Yi. So actually, we should have a more general term and make it more formal. They are ritual robes. They are not just a Daoist priest robe. And only those red one, usually we will call them Jiang Yi. And, but in this type, we will more like the Fa Chang, like open robe. So this is we can make us to more understand them correctly, know their role. They are not daily use priest robe. So that's why they are quite important. And also about the date, I just mentioned briefly about the stylistic change of the robe. But also interestingly, we have, this is the earliest excavated example from a 12th century Daoist priest tomb in Shanxi, China. And they excavated in 1973. That's why we only have these black and white photos published in the Kaogu magazine. So those robes always used by the Western scholars as the earliest example we know about Daoist priest robe, and used as compared to this type, this two type. But actually this is, I would say it's a misunderstanding, because the one on the right, actually they folding together. They only show a black white photo you see on the top. So they folding from here. So what do we see? This is not a robe like what we saw. It's basically like a cassock. Basically just a piece of lens, like a rectangular piece. So this one, I happened to saw it in the Capitol. Recently they do the conservation, so they show the original one. It's like that. So but we still can see, although their style, their form is not the origin from those later robes, but we still can see, if you're looking into the details, you do see those embroidery, very fancy crane embroidery, those hechang. It's really like the pattern-wise, the decoration, we can see its sort of origin. So this is really helpful to bring us to the second part I'm going to talk is to focus on those craftsmanship and the technique of those robes. I will use several examples from the Met collection, but and so we can see so those are the Met things I showed again. So all those things, most of them are embroidery over satin silk. So, but except this one is a tapestry one. And this one even is a woven, they use not just silk, it uses wool. And this one actually is used applique. But most of them, they are embroidery, because the embroidery work is really can show how fanciful those like a very fine decoration and can achieve, just like I always say, they use needlework as like brushwork. Let's see the first example. This is the earliest example in the Met collection. I think can be safely dated to the 17th century. It shows a pencil, Daoist pencil, like all deities in clouds all over the robe. It's really extraordinary, it works. But the blue border is later added on, it's a repair. But the centered part, we keep the original, so you can see meticulously those thread, colorful silk thread to show, and also the detail of those Daoist, like the Daoist deities all over together. Also the pattern-wise is a little different to the other like those pavilion ones. So again, they're the cranes. White cranes always show up in those robes. Some details, even very fun. Look at this. This is 4 deities with this is for the thunder. This is for the wind. You see a big pouch with wind, and this is with rain. This is the thunder. So you see those drums. They think there's someone hitting the drum, and this is with a mirror with a flash. So this is 4 deities about the rain. This is also mentioned. Rain is always very important in Chinese agriculture. So the Daoists always pray for rain for lots of times. So, and those deities, even with a funny look at the face. I really love the face. It's just humorous. And think about those are all the needlework. You can see those stitches, right? Of course, the color has been teared and worn. So some like a pigment is not very stable. Those blue, always indigo, always very easy to lose the color. That's why also this let us related to the one textile problem. We cannot show them very often because light sensitive. We need to keep them. It's more like a stable in storage. But anyway, this is my favorite details. And also look in the front. This is typical with the Qing Long Bai Hong. That means blue dragon and white tiger. But here, the tiger also look like dragon, but with the typical, like the tiger pattern, like the skin, like the tiger. And also based on the pattern, looking at the dragon head and the tiger head, it's very typical, like I would say Ming Dynasty. So that's also help us to date it to at least no later than 17th century. And also the quality is super high, and those are all 5-claw dragons. We know this is exclusively reserved for the court, for the imperial family. So those are all the typical very great robe so far we saw. Then another like a dragon robe, I would say, but this again with it's a Daoist priest robe, but with the fancy embroidery of the dragon over the red. It's like a jiangyi. It's a crimson red color, the satin. With those chrysanthemum, all the dragons around. It's really fanciful. Look at this dragon. It's holding, there's 3 characters in Chinese seal script, Fu, Lu, and Shou. So that's the fortune, longevity, and the Lu is more like official lucky. Anyway, it's 3 the best blast for the. And also think about those are all the golden thread. Those gold, the Chinese gold thread. I don't know if I have the more detail. Yes. So look at those thread, those gold thread. Basically, they use gold foil wrapped over paper core. And as you think about how thin the thread would be, and then use that, put in a needle and a stitch on that. It's really like from the top quality one. So this is, we can see the quality, the technique. That's why I always keep on saying those Daoist ritual robes need more attention. They are really top artworks. And then this is another different technique. Usually we will think them like embroidery, but they are not. They are more like applique work. So those of course, the first we should talk about the basic, it's like if you're familiar with this, is the Taiji, like the yin and yang in the center, and that 8 trigrams, that's also the Daoist symbol things. They are all applique. So basically, they cut a piece of the brocade, stitch over a brocade. So that's if you're looking at the detail, you see they are not embroidery. They are the piece of textile above a textile. But of course, they also including gold thread embroidery. So that's a mix. But anyway, this shows how fancy, how like a fanciful hard work they put onto that, and also the ground textile. They are patterned like we call lampers. So those are also very high quality textile silk. Another different type. very rare. I think Dr. Liu also mentioned, Mia also had one, is a tapestry robe. So this robe, the dragon robe and Daoist robe, is a woven, not embroidery. We call it tapestry. It's like we saw like European Western tapestry. They are woven to shape the pattern. So, but the Western one usually silk and wool. But this technique also bringing to China, it's around like the 11th, 12th century. But the Chinese developed used very fine silk to shape the so-called ke si, so the tapestry. The ke basically in Chinese means carving. So it's like a silk carving. You can see the shape. Let's see the detail. You can see. Yeah, those are the back of the robe. You can see the holding this yin and yang tai chi yu together, and look at the. So those the woven one. You can those are thread. They are not hand needlework, but they are woven on a loom. So this make it also very hard. This piece is the high quality. The tapestry always a very expensive material to shape. Yeah, those are also some details you can see. You can see the structure, right? This is the typical the tapestry woven, the pattern. And also with those meticulously 8 trigram. So the 8 by 8 becomes 64 trigrams altogether. So then the mostly commonly see is this type of so-called jiangyi. Now I think would be more safely called them changyi or fachang. So those are with the typical pattern to show a cosmos on the back of the robe with the pavilion of the universe. Or the highest Daoist patterns. This I think, so it's the one like on the left is a typical one I just mentioned. This is dated to 1886, but they mentioned this is antique one. So, but very lucky in the Mia, we have another one, 43. It's not on view, but this one have inscription. We know it's dated to Qianlong, 11th year of the Qianlong period, 1746. So this one, again, it's let us know to help us to carefully date them. Actually, this is an antique one as well. So they are more like the late 18 to early 19th century works. So then actually Dr. Liu going to introduce more detail into this fancy symbolism of these patterns. Dr. Liu.
Thank you so much, Pengliang, for your wonderful insight into form, terminology, and technique of Daoist robe, Daoist priest robe, or Daoist ritual robe, as you mentioned. So it's my turn to look at more detail, look at the cosmological ideas that the designs and the decorating the Daoist robe, particularly on the back. So let's have my. Okay. Thank you. Yeah. Okay, so my presentation is mapping the cosmos imagery and meaning on Daoist priest or ritual robes. As Pengliang had shown this picture, that the Daoist priest robe or ritual robe was ritually decorated on both front and back. Unlike the plain everyday use Dao Pao, ritual robes are so ritually decorated despite the difference between these two types of robe, sleeved and sleeveless. Both types use a shared visual language. So here I have listed several things that are motifs that are symbolic imagery that are often see on the, particularly on the back of the Daoist robe. Bright color and gold-wrapped threads turn the robe really into a glowing surface. In effect, the robe materialized Daoist cosmology. Almost always, the back is served as the main location for cosmological imagery. By comparing how these elements are arranged, especially how heaven, earth, and the human and immortal worlds are shown, we can identify 8 design types. 8 robes in Mia collection demonstrate this 8 approach. So the first one, type 1, I call it a complete diagram of heaven and earth. This type presents large, highly organized imagery of a cosmos where heaven and earth are fully integrated. A fine example is this sleeved embroidered satin robe in our collection, dating from 18th to 19th century. Its back panel functions like a miniature universe arranged in concentric layers. Here we have some detail. Here at the center of the back, there's a kind of circular framework. Within that, you will see a 5-storied tower, which representing heaven itself. Oops. So here, it's in Daoist thought, heaven consists of multiple layers or levels, sometimes said to be 36, or in other theory, there'll be a different number. But in any case, the heavenly, the heaven always consists of multiple layers, imagined as stacked palaces. Below, you will see that there's almost like inverted mountain peaks here, which represent famous 5 secret mountains in China, Wu Yue. So that makes the palace appears to be almost like a float in the sky. Beams of multicolored light radiate outwards, symbolizing the boundless expansion of heaven and marking the palace as the cosmic axis. Then above this palace are the sun and the moon, along with the 3 palatial forms and representing the 3 pure ones. 三清 in Chinese, 3 pure ones, which is here, 1, 2, 3. They're accompanied by sun and the moon. So here we have I thought I have a picture of the sun. And so anyway, you will see that there's a rabbit within the moon, a red bird within the sun. Surrounding this tower, another thing I should mention is a ring of 28 small discs representing the 28 lunar mansions. And that is ancient division of the sky used to track the moon. In Taoism, these mansions became astral deities tied to ritual timing. Then outside of this, there are another ring of 24 larger discs symbolizing the 24 solar terms that structure the agricultural year. For Daoist ritualists, those moments mark the time when cosmic forces changed and the ceremonies were especially powerful. Together, these two rings form a complete diagram of space and time. As you can see here, the white cranes fly on either side of the palace, symbolizing immortal traveling between worlds. 4 phoenix appear at the cardinal directions, representing harmony and proper cosmic order. Then, if you look at this picture, below that, and around that, there are also symbols of 5 sacred mountains. This is here, here. I mean, there are some are repeated. This is all the symbols of 5 sacred mountains, 5岳, which connect the cosmic order to China's physical landscape and ritual territory. Moving outwards, this is the symbols of the 5 sacred mountains. Now, moving outward, circular and scroll-shaped panels show immortals and sieges, including recognizable members of the 8 immortals. 八仙, 8 immortal, a group of immortals, are very popular, particularly in the Ming-Qing period. There are some really recognizable because of the accessory they accompany them. For instance, this guy on your left, because of this sword here, then we know that he is one of the 8 immortals called Liu Dongbing, because he is always depicted with a sword. Then this one here on your left, this guy is Zhongli Quan with a fan, and also exposing his belly. That's also a typical feature of this immortal. Of course, there are some others, probably just depicting sieges and noble people. They are not related to 8 immortals. This is, I remember, as Pengliang had emphasized all the time, this is not painting, but this is really embroidery. Then there are also mythical animals like a qilin on your left and a monkey on your right. This is all auspicious animals that are guiding the secret realm of the immortals. Then outmost the ring is filled with many types of birds, queens, peacock, pheasants, geese, swallows, and others. Such birds suggest that all living beings submit to heavenly order. Then throughout entire back of the robe, cloud, squirrels, the 8 auspicious. There are 2 groups of things that we should emphasize here, because you will see it everywhere. Almost all Daoist robes on the back design. One is a group of 8 so-called 8 Buddhist treasures, various things. But then the other is the 8 emblems or accessories that 8 immortal carry. So those 2 groups are often appeared, or sometimes just a mixture you will see everywhere. So you can imagine during that time, Daoist practitioners or Daoist followers would also use Buddhist symbols. It seems that the symbolic the motifs are the boundaries are very blurred. So here we can have a very brief summary. The robe is organized into clear layers: center, heavenly palace, and cosmic cycles; middle, mountains, immortals, and animals; outer, clouds, symbols, and birds. It functions as a cosmogram, not just an image. When the priest wears it, its body became an axis connecting heaven, earth, and humanity. This robe, the reason I discuss it in such a detail, because that really provides a key model for understanding all later variations. Then the second type is an open and dynamic cosmos. It presents heaven and earth together, but removes the circular frames around the figures. Instead, images float freely among clouds, emblems, and dragons. So here we have another example also in Mir collection. So here you see that the image in the center slightly different from the earlier one. Earlier one, the heaven is located in the circle. However, here the framework for the heaven or heavenly pavilion is kind of roughly like a gourd ship. The gourd was an important Daoist object believed to trap demons and contain cosmic energy. Some texts even describe an immortal world inside the gourd where the sun and the moon reside. So here we have a gourd-shaped heaven framed by dragons and some other details. Again, here there's a simpler circle of circles, again representing space, and perhaps only one aspect of that is depicted here. Not every single robe, the design the same. They vary. Now this is a simpler. On the top, this is three pure one, or Sanqing, accompanied by moon on your left and the sun on your right. Then around the palace appear figures drawn from Daoist legends. Here we have a man and a woman riding cranes or on a deer. They likely present a famous immortal couple called Xiao and Nong Yu legend, composed or created during the so-called Warring States period in around 5th to 3rd century, who achieved immortality through music. They are famous musicians. Nearby, you will also see Lu Dongbing, recognizable by his sword carried on his back, and Lan Caihe, a musician, in the center, and a famous female deity He Xiangu on your right. They all are members of the 8 immortals, as well as attendants. This figure introduced a more human narrative quality to the cosmic order or cosmic scene. Now, type 3, in this type, cosmos without human figures. Here we have a very good example, an earlier 19th century silk summer robe. This is a very special, actually, It's the only one, as I know, exists in private and public collection, because it's not texture, it's not embroidery, rather it's a painted. So it's a very special. This one is on view, so you can see it. So again, at the center, it's a familiar gold-shaped heavenly diagram with the palace, stars, sun, and the moon, and below there, or around it, 5 sacred mountains, and around that there are also 12 rounds, each contain. This is the 3 pure one on the top, San Qing, and then moon and the sun accompany that 3 purity, the highest heaven in Daoist cosmology, as well as highest authority in the pantheon. This is again the symbol of 5 secret mountains. This is the moon and the sun. So this is what really special is the these roundels around that. There are 12 roundels in the center. There are more outside on the sleeves. Those roundels are quite interesting because they contain landscape. Sometimes you see the animals. For instance, here we have a tiger here. There's another, looks like a monkey. Now there's a rabbit, and there's a snake on that side. There's a rooster, there's a monkey. Then on the sleeve, it's beautifully painted, almost like an ink painting, flying dragon and phoenix. So altogether, there are monkeys, rabbits, tigers, dragons, snake, birds, and other domestic animals. The front actually continues the cosmic imagery with the cranes, dragons, peaches, and the jade disc. So by placing immortals with animals, the robe suggests that nature itself, in the Daoist cosmos, dragons and the phoenix reinforce the idea that the earthly realm is sacred, even without a human presence. Now, type 4, you will see the flowers, birds, and auspicious symbols. We have a very good example in our collection. That removes, actually in this imagery, that removes both landscape and human figure. Earthly and transitional realms are represented through flowers, insects, birds, fish, and other symbols. So this early 19th century embroidered satin robe illustrates this very richly. So here we again, at the center, again we have this familiar heavenly palace. Then above that, there are 3 purity, the highest heaven and the deity, authority. Then accompany that, you have a rabbit on the right and the bird, the sun and moon. And then surrounded by 2 groups of circles. The smaller one is within this. It's here, then another. So this is again representing space and the moon and a time. But below that, you will see around that. Actually, you will see 5 roundels surrounding this center. One shows 2 here. This one shows 2 abstract dragon. Here you have 2 abstract dragon in the center. with the flower, bats, and the attributes of 8 immortals. You have some like fans, music instruments. This is all related to Daoist 8 immortals, but without showing the figures themselves. Only their accessories are showing here. The another shows chrysanthemums and butterflies in the center, symbols of transformation and spiritual freedom. Then the other one stacks many auspicious symbols into a tower of blessings. It's kind of a mixture of Buddhist and Taoist symbols here, as well as other auspicious animals, birds, including even fish. That is actually related to the 8 treasures, Buddhist treasures. And the flower schools fill the space between, and the front completes a full set of Taoist and Buddhist auspicious symbols. So here, really, the cosmos is shown not as a map of realms, but as a dense field of auspicious forces. Human hopes, long life, prosperity, transformation are presented everywhere, but only symbolically. Now, type 5, symbolic human presence. This type leave out human figures and instead suggest the human world through motifs like red-crowned cranes with lingzi fungus and the attributes of 8 immortals, wrapping the pressed in a layer, a blessing, and protections. Here we have one very unique example, as Pengliang mentioned, is texture rather than embroidery. The only one in our collection, so very special. So the center, again, you see this slightly different from the previous 2, one circle, one gourd. This almost like a triangle, surrounded by a ring of circle. Again, the symbol of time and space. And then you also see on the above that 3 purities, and flanked by moon and the sun. Again, another group of symbols of 5 secret mountains here. Again, a mixture with the other design of the character standing for longevity. They are a kind of variation. There are hundreds, more than 100 different ways of writing this longevity character. So they all composed of different fashions here. But what really stands out are 5 medallions, each showing a red crowned crane holding a lingzi fungus in their mouth. Together, this symbolizes immortality in a simple way. Then the elsewhere and the sleeves, the hem, are packed with trigrams, bagua, coins, knots, and ritual objects. Here, the human realm. Here are some details. This is all related to the 8 immortals. This is all 8 immortals accessories, including fans and sword, music instruments, and a gourd, and so on. Some other details, auspicious symbols. So basically, everywhere are packed with trigrams, bagua, coins, knots, and ritual object. Here, the human realm is present only through auspicious birds and symbols. Robe wrapped pressed in layers of auspicious meaning that reinforce ritual authority and protection. Then type 6 robe, you will see auspicious symbols as the human realm. So here, this type presents a cosmic diagram in which human realm is conveyed entirely through auspicious symbols and immortal attributes. So we have one example that Pengliang mentioned, the one that was inscription of Qianlong that dates to 1764, right? Again, in the center, you see this familiar design closely follows the official Qing, the very common model that you see everywhere, the heavenly palaces, three pure ones, sun and moon, and also five sacred mountain symbols. What is now here is the use of, what makes this very special is the use of this diamond-shaped clusters, each containing an auspicious object. They are basically related to Buddhism and Daoism. I mean, they are other accessories of the 8 immortals of Daoism, or members of 8 treasures of Buddhism. So here you see that this group all relate to Buddhist 8 treasures. Then the second group all relate to Daoist 8 immortals. Then elsewhere, filled with auspicious animals and symbols. Phoenix and Qing. Here we have this inscription precisely dated to 1764, which really provides a very rare example which can help us to date the similar type of works. So in this robe, the outer border includes cranes, beasts, and a dragon rising from weaves. The composition has 3 layers: inner heaven and time and space, middle symbols and the treasures, outer animals, weaves, and the dragons. So that's the diagram of this heavenly imagery. Next, type number 7, dragon-dominated design. Pengliang had shown examples in the Met collection. Here we have several works that are belonging this type, dominated by dragons. Looks almost like dragon robe. Dragon play such a major role here. The dragons structure the entire space, emphasizing their role as controllers of cosmic force. Again, that a heavenly palace appears within a gold ship, surrounded by stars and topped by deities. The 5 sacred mountains are still presented, but smaller. It's down there. Dragons, bats, coral, and clouds fill the space. Well, as you all know that in the Qing Dynasty, in the Ming and the Qing, particularly in the Qing, dragons symbolize both imperial authority and cosmic power. by combining dragons with Daoist imagery, these robes visually link Daoist ritual authority with imperial rule. Next type, the last type I'm going to discuss is the heavenly court. This type replaces the abstract heavenly palace with a central enthroned deity, recalling Cao Yuan Tu, or homage to the primordial, which is the highest supreme deity in Daoist pantheon, Yuan Shi Tianzhun. That see in murals of Daoist temples as well as in many paintings. So we have this example here. Is an embroidered satin robe. Here you will see in the center replacing the heavenly pavilion only, but here not only the pavilion but also this supreme deity seated in the center, or Yuan Shi Tianzhun, sits in the grand hall holding a ritual tablet attended by servants. Dragon climb the columns, light radiates from the roof. Again, you see the color, the sphere or circle surround the hall, representing the directions of the cosmos. About the symbol of the three purity, you see that on the top, three purities, as well as the sun and the moon. Here we have some detail of this Yuan Shi Tianzhun, or the highest deity in Daoist pantheon, and also moon and the sun. Now, surrounding this central deity, officials stand in long rows facing the deity. Dragons, phoenix bats, and trigrams or bagua filled the borders. Small human figures at the hem may emphasize Daoist status. Interestingly, that you will see even Buddhist monks also serve that, trying to elevated Daoist status. So, unlike earlier robes filled with varied immortals, this design presents a heavenly bureaucracy with strict hierarchy and order. The priest's back become a vision of the celestial court he addressed during the ritual. Pengliang mentioned one in his in the mat collection. This one shows even more complex of the Daoist heaven. Then the other one with a similar depiction is in the collection of the Victoria and Albert Museum in London. These three are the only three that are known to me with such a design. Now, it's time to have a conclusion, a small summary. The robe as a wearable cosmos. Together, these 8 types show the full range of Daoist cosmological design during the Qing Dynasty. Across all types, you will see heavenly palace and 3 pure ones form the cosmic center. Stars and calendars encode time and space. Mountains ground the cosmos in China's sacred geography. Animals and symbols represent the flow of cosmic energy. Humans appear either as immortals, officials, or symbolic wishers. These robes are not just decorative clothing, they are wearable cosmology or cosmograms. When a Daoist priest wears such a robe, he literally puts the universe on his body. During the ritual, his movements align heaven and earth. The robe helps turn his body into moving altar, recognized by gods and the spirits. In major ceremonies, the altarpiece models the cosmos. The robe is both part of that model and its living center. As the priest moves, cosmos embodied on his back moves within the ritual cosmos around him. In this way, Qing Dynasty Daoist robes reveal the core of Daoist ritual thinking to align time, space, gods, and humans through ritual action. Silk and gold threads become threads of the Tao itself. By wearing them, the priest stands temporarily as the living link between heaven and earth. Thank you so much. I think we could have 10 minutes for Q&A. So if there's any questions, Pengliang, would you like to come here?
Thank you both very much. I was interested in you get a sense of what the ritual layout might have been, but one of the things I was wondering throughout this is what were the Daoist rituals for which they wore these robes? And is the reason that they were more elaborate on the back because their backs would be to what we might think of as a congregation?
Okay, so there are many types of rituals that Daoists would perform during the major ceremonies. There's one particular called a Qiao, which is performed quite often. So there are so many ritual activities that the priest would perform wearing this kind of robes. The other question is that why it's always the back become this main field of cosmological imagery. I think that because the back is a complete, better place to, first of all, to depict that. Secondly, I would think that the priest often he would face the altar with his back towards the audience, with the other participants, so that they could see the back better. So that's probably one idea. Do you have anything to add?
Yes, I think Dr. Liu mentioned that mostly. I think as you see, actually you can check on YouTube, actually. There's lots of Daoist ritual you will see perform. Actually, you can see gradually those major Daoists were walking from lots of like big steps to the hall, so all the audience can see. And also in the center, because I mentioned they are like sort of dancing. So they step onto like a constellation shape. So people will see from behind or from other side, see the back. It's really the shape. Really like you can see it's a more like realistic cosmos just to show up like you. So the human self is become, like Dr. Liu mentioned, it's like a anthropomorphic the cosmos to show up. So that's why. And also actually if you see, I think you also have that, also you can, at the beginning, I think you have that painting from the Jinping Mei. You can see actually the scene, maybe the beginning. And anyway.
Go further.
Very beginning, yeah. Yeah, so again, like people will show this is how. And also another word block illustration I use, you can see side, like they are bowing to the deity. Again, you can see all the things. So they become a whole. That's why this is more visible, or like they want to present in this way. So this is the reason, probably. Yeah.
Other questions?
Yeah, there's one behind you, but
Thank you for your talks. Very interesting. I assume that these robes are required very fine craftsmanship. In the making of these robes, is it also a ritual in itself? There are certain practices they have to observe when they're making the embroidery, making the robes and things like that?
that's a great question. Actually, there's one scholars already mentions that compared to the Western Christian religions like those West, they making always those, the craftsmen are working the church. Actually, it is more like a serious, more like a focusing religious dedicated to woven those, to create those vests, the Christian vests. But interestingly, the Chinese Daoist robe seems not that serious. Maybe I'm not correct, but you actually can got those robes from those sacred robe place. They are ritual robe, but you can see the quality varies. Even here in the Met collection, in the Mia collection, you can see the quality varies. Some very top quality. You can see clearly this is from court production. But some, I have to say, it's quite mediocre. And they are really like, some is from like a normal, some you can, even today, you can buy robe, Daoist robe online. And you also can, from those sacred, always you can see those sacred costume, they will make those things. They are for the perform, not made in the religious institutions. So that's the difference, I think.
So this museum also houses a wonderful collection of Buddhist priest robes. If you compare these two types of robes, as Pengliang mentioned, that the group that are showing the best qualities, I would assume that they were manufactured in imperial workshop. So because during the Qing period, the court or the royal family very interested in the religions. They sponsored establishment of temples and the religious organizations. Of course, the Buddhism was the favorite one, but the Taoism also, I would think that in some extreme cases that they would sponsor as well. So some of the robes with the high qualities really were produced in the imperial workshop. So yes, you can see the difference in terms of the quality.
Thank you. Related to that question is the amount of variety in robe designs. And so I'm aware of some kinds of Chinese art having templates or designs that were in catalogs, for instance. And so, but most of the robes I've seen seem to be very, very different from each other. There are maybe a few different types, but there are some that are similar types but very different colors or this or that. And then there are others that, like many in the show here, are very unique. So I'm wondering about the production in that way.
So actually you will see, so if I show you, let me turn this. If I show you the slides I have, you will, actually I would say some, especially this type, especially this, oops, okay. So especially this type, they're actually quite consistent. They are all the same, but of course they have variation. Actually, this shoe, they have some flexibility or the freedom to create some variation. And also because of the time range different. We say the stylistically change through time. And some is the one I mentioned, the one similar to this one. It's in the Mia collection is dated to 1746. But our piece, you can see, continue use to 1886. But this one in our collection actually dating to 1820. So it's really, you can see this type of model. This, I would say this is sort of like one of the most commonly used type, was used through like over 100 years. But some, they have a lot of variation. Like you can see a trigram and the dragons, the pencils. It's like we saw some maybe some earlier version, like but they have some change through the time. I think that's probably the reason. So far, we didn't have like a specific diagram or design book for Daoist ritual robes. We didn't have this kind of thing. But clearly, they have sort of model. Otherwise, they cannot have this kind of similar things all over. So this is the most commonly seen type, this type. But also, again, lots of like cranes, this is common. There's some flexibility for the designer for Daoist robe. Yeah. And also probably regional. We don't know because the Daoists actually also have the different schools. Like you mentioned, the Mia one, similar like this one with, we say Longhushan, that's in Jiangxi. This is Zhengyi Dao. So they have different school. Some in Beijing, some there's a different mountains, different Daoist. It's a huge, like Christian, maybe it's not proper to compare to the Western religions, but there's some different schools. They also have different type. But we so far, we haven't go to that deeper. That's why I say the Daoist ritual robe really need more works to know which school use this type. We don't know, or they are just commonly used, and there's need a lot of works in future. Thank you.
Yeah, to prepare this show, I was able to gather maybe around 100 pieces that are in various collections, both private collection as well as the public institutions. So based on that, I was able to, summarize these 8 types of design. So each group actually not just one work or 2 work, but sometimes more than 10 works. So that means during that time, not just like 17th century, 18th century, probably throughout the Qing Dynasty, there probably existed kind of patterns and forms that a lot of Daoist organizations would follow that, although they may change a little bit based on their preference. So, but apparently there existed a kind of a pattern book or something like designs.
Thank you. This was really, really interesting. Do you know how many people would work on one Daoist robe? Was this a group effort? Was it individual craftspeople? How long would it take to make a robe? Any of those details would be so interesting.
This varies. I think the most of them, they are from workshop. And we so far we did not find anyone like signed by a master, like his embroidered. Usually we did not find this type of in Chinese embroidery work. Even sometimes only very rare occasions, some embroidery paintings or something, they will have been sort of signed actually as needled by the artist. So I would assume those embroidery certainly first the tailor make the cutting of the lens. This is some different and stitch together and make the robe, and the embroidery must be different one. But the embroidery, whether they doing like a teamwork or not, usually is one work like they go into, and sometimes often like the master will work on the main motif or some like important patterns. For example, like if someone maybe is focused on the center, that's this heavenly pavilion, or someone is focused on animal or human figures. They're more, but again, like we don't have like detailed archival material to tell how the workshop process. So if we compare to the contemporary workshop, If you go to like today's China, like Suzhou and Jiangsu, there are lots of embroidery workshop. You can see they are team working. Someone working on that, some on that. Some master maybe have designed a pattern. Maybe the beginning stage, he embroidered every details, every part. But later, when we developed into like a workshop, it's like a more like a commodity. There will have a teamwork. Yeah.
So as we both mentioned that this is a really area that a lack of study. So there are not a lot of publications about this subject have been published or studied. But we can take the, for instance, we mentioned that some works might be produced in imperial workshop. We can take the examples working on other materials. For instance, we have a very well documented information about how imperial workshop had produced jade. We have a famous jade mountain here at Mir. So in order to produce a jade mountain like that, it involves a teamwork. That there's different craftsmen would charged with a different task. Some might to draw a painting, then others would work out roughly the sculpture. Then others might specialize in polishing it. So of course that's a jade, but textile might be a simpler work. But again, I think that they are a kind of a teamwork if we are talking about high quality robes.
So actually, I want to add on, Dr. Liu mentioned the imperial workshop. We do have archives of the imperial workshop. We know some process of the imperial textile, how they made those. Actually, the textile, usually the design is from the court, but they will send out to the 3 production center. And the one in Suzhou is good at tapestry and embroidery, and the Nanjing is good at brocade, and the Hangzhou is for another textile. So there's 3 in the south, like Jiangnan regions, like 3 major imperial textile production center. So we do have like records, like how many days they finish those things. They will send out the order, and they send back the things. The emperor say, oh, this is approved or not. Sometimes they approve. Sometimes they say, oh, actually the emperor himself will be involved into the design. Sometimes we say, oh, the ground seems changed from red to yellow, and it's something like that. It does happens, and they will send back and to make another sample. So when they finish, they send back. When after all approved, maybe they say, oh, made 10 of them, or something like that. But you can see sometimes it will take several months. Usually we see if like a tapestry painting or tapestry or embroidery painting or those things, they will take like several months to finish. So that's accurately how those imperial workshop in Suzhou, Hangzhou, they working on how they are the huge team, because we know there's a site like the office of the imperial silk factory. They have lots of work together. They must be a teamwork. Yeah.
One more question?
Yes.
Can you tell which robe are from the imperial workshop or anyone from the commercial workshop?
So it's difficult if without information, without detail. But some, I would say, for example, that pencil one, as I mentioned, those kind of 5-claw dragon, and we can this one, for example.
The Kesi probably.
The Kesi is also very good quality. So this one, this embroidery, especially in the dragon and the tiger, white tiger, I think this is the main imperial workshop the piece. It's a super high quality compared to other, but some will be more like a modest. This is also quite good, but this is a 4-claw dragon. But 4-claw dragon could be also from a court production, but it's like a gift. And this type of things all looks like a very imperial work things. And you can compare to the imperial porcelain, imperial lacquerware, jade carving. This kind of pattern is very typical. And also the quality is super high. Think about the material, the luxury, the gold thread they use. It's really something extraordinary. They can be, but some maybe later period, and this is more like, I would say, more like a commodity. It's if you compare to the detail, so it's okay. But it's not that top quality. So this is, of course, is judging from the quality. But if we really doesn't have not like a ceramics, you see, we have the imperial mark. We can tell this is from emperor. So this is more based on the quality. Any maybe last question? Yeah.
Thanks both of you for these very interesting and exciting presentations. So I have a question, actually two questions. So the first one just showing the dragons. In dragon is a very sensitive symbol in the China. Usually, especially like a 5-claw or 4-claw dragons is only used in the royal families. So you show here that also the robes also use this 5 or 4 crops dragon, the dragon for the decoration. How they use that? They have to get a permission, or they have something other restriction to use that? So that's my first question. And the second question is that in the Dao master in China can be predominantly male, but also they do exist as some female Dao master, and also probably that's different rank. Probably royal family has the royal temple, probably has highest rank, and there's a local or regional, probably it's lower. So for this Daoist robe, do they have any restriction for this different rank or different special and male, female, or different situation to use that? Thanks.
Great, good question. In terms of the dragon, so first, I mean, I always talk about, every time we talk about Chinese art, we talk about dragon. But I have to say dragon is really I would say this is sort of translation word from English dragon, but they are not exactly dragon. The dragon is evil beings. We know, if we think about this as a dragon, this is based in Chinese. In Chinese culture, we also know dragon is like a good, auspicious sign and powerful sign. It's a long, but basically these look similar. That's from the beginning stage. It was translated into dragon, but they are not exactly dragon. But in China, actually, all those things, so this kind of 4-cross one, they will call mang, literally means serpent. But they're not a serpent, but this, those mythical creatures, those term was varied as used. And it not means all this kind of dragon-looking creatures only can be used on the imperial things. That's not true. So sometimes you can see 3-claw dragons, like you see on the common folkware porcelains. It's common. It's used. But for some piece, those like a 4-claw one, in terms of the quality, they could be imperial things, the quarter production, but they could be a gift. Like the emperor always has gift to the Daoist priests. So some high-rank Daoist priests will get gift from emperors like that. So this happens, and we need to judge varied the different the condition. Your second question is about the ranking of the robe. This is again this is what we try to research. There's some rank they mention some red, some yellow, but not that we doesn't not like those like a rank badge. Like we know this is a crane for the first rank, and we still didn't have like a more very careful. It seems varied a lot. And also for nuns, for like a female Daoist priest, sometimes we have some Daoist, some portraits. We can see some, but very few. I would say I very few see female Daoist priest holding a ritual like this, dress this kind of huge robe. So far, I didn't see. Maybe.
I just want to add things about dragon. So as I mentioned earlier, that this museum also houses a wonderful collection of Buddhist robes. We had a show earlier, 2 years ago. I studied that and published a paper. So I'm kind of aware that, because during the Qing period, the court actually had some of those robes. One thing that we haven't mentioned in this lecture, there are some, for instance, the Buddhist robes, the priest robes, they were not actual priest robe, but they were actually theatrical costumes. So there's a court troops of the performance groups that they actually use this as a costume for stage performance. I would believe that among the collections of Daoist robes, some of them might be theatrical costume as well, but we are not able to distinguish them because the reason we know that some Buddhist the robes were actually used in a theatrical occasion is because some of them have stamps or inscriptions that indicating this belonged to a group of performers or even the theaters. So that for that reason we know. But for this group that in both our collection and Matt collection, we haven't seen that evidence yet. So that will need. So if they are caught, some costume that belong to the court performance group, that it's legitimate to use dragons. So there's no problem with that. As well as the some temples were sponsored by court. This is the prestigious. So they are also entitled to use that as well. For the priests, whether they are female, could lead those kind of ritual as the high-ranking priests. I doubt. I don't think there's such a case in the imperial time. Okay, I think that's all. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for joining us for this lecture in such a cold day. I just want to mention that in addition to this Daoist robe, which is located in the Target wing, there's also another new exhibition just opened, Chinese fan paintings, which is in the sculpture court, near the sculpture court. There's a fan painting show with some 40 fan paintings dating from Song Dynasty to Qing period. So 13th century, 12th century to 19th century. It's worth to pay a visit. Then there's a Tibetan shrine that some people don't know. About 3 years ago, we received a donation from a collector based in New York, Alice Candell. So we built this Tibetan shrine, which is a very unique experience with the chanting. And so if you haven't had chance to see it, please go to. It's also a location difficult to find. It's behind the Japanese art gallery. So you can just ask the guides, Tibetan shrine. And so, of course, the Cambodian bronze, and that's going to finish very soon. So thank you again for joining us, and I hope you have a wonderful rest of the day. Thank you.
Thank you.